So pandas is a very fundamental, I should say, at least nowadays it has become fundamental. Uh, Data structure manipulating package, which actually is based on a specific data structure called ND arrays. Okay, that is the heart of the package pandas, and there are many utility functions which help you to manipulate that data structure, and a wide range of machine learning algorithms actually work on this particular data structure called ND arrays. Okay, and there are some other data structures available in this particular package offers, which also helps us in uh, performing machine learning related tasks easily. So let's see that how we are going to use this pandas to visualize the data. Great. So the very first thing I would like to mention over here is that this variable Boston has several members, as I already have mentioned. Now, one of the members is called data. So how do you access that member? You write Boston.data. So if you do that, then that data variable will be accessed. Now this data variable contains the independent variables of the data set. And there is another variable called target that contains the dependent variable of this particular data set. Now at this point of time, I would like to visualize only the independent variables. So in order to do that, we have to convert it to a pandas data structure called data frame. So how do we do that? So in order to do that, we'll use the pd.dataframe, this particular function, which helps us in creating data frame type objects. So what is this data frame all about? I am not going into too much detail. Maybe throughout my lecture I'll be talking about it. And then you have to supply two things. One is the Boston data variable. Okay, so let's keep it like this. Say I have only this. So now this data variable contains a matrix like representation of this data. Now if you just print it, okay, so how do you print it? So if you print this variable data, then the entire a long list of data will be printed in my console. So I do not want that. Maybe I would like to look at the first few rows of my data set. So then I'll be using a function called head. Okay. So what is the purpose of head? Head is going to print first 5 entries of the data set, which is in this variable data. Now you can see there are 13 columns, and these are the values. So this is one variable, this is another variable, this is another variable, and so on. And every row is one entry in my data set. This is one entry, this is one entry, and so on. And all these values are for independent variables. Okay. So my
Sir, I have one question.
Sure.
So why you have written Boston.data?
To access this data variable of Boston object, which contains the independent variables. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now you can see this is not very good representation of the data set, because we do not know what is the name of the variable, what is the name of this variable, and so on. So in order to get those names, we can do something extra. So what we can do? So there is one argument called columns. and I can set it to be there is another variable of Boston object called feature names. Okay. So in machine learning, these independent variables that I was talking about is referred as features or attributes. Okay. So Boston object has this member called feature names, and if you access that variable, that gives you the column headings. What is the name of this column, what is the name of this column, and so on. So if you just run it, now you can see that all the data column headings have appeared. And now you can understand that, well, this is the variable which is CRIM something, ZN, Indus, NOx, and so on, tax. Maybe some of the headings will be self-explanatory like tax and age. However, some of them are still not clear to us. What is the meaning of them, right? But at least you have some idea that what are these things all about. So for instance, this is the age, maybe, right? This is the tax. So something related with tax paid by a person or maybe a group of person, something like that. Now my target is, so these are the independent variables. Now what about the dependent variable? That is the value that I want to predict. So is there any way to access that particular variable? Yes, there is a way to access it. So let me show you how we can get that part. Uh, so over here you can see that if you want to access the dependent variable, then and if you want to add it to this particular data frame, then you can add it in this way. So let's give it a name. Let's call it target. And here I'll be writing data frame. If I want to add any column to a data frame object, I have to add it as an data frame object itself. Okay. And the target variable can be accessed using this target member of the Boston type object. So basically it is a set of values which I want to add as a column in this data frame data. That is what I am doing over here. So let's run it afresh. So now you can see that this extra column has appeared over here, and that is the target. So the problem is like this, that given all these 13 values, can I predict this target value? That is what I mean. That is the problem that I want to solve. Now at this point of time, in simple linear regression, we would like to keep things as simple as possible. So today I am going with a single variable linear regression problem. That is, one of the variables of these 13 variables I will pick up, and depending on the value of, suppose if I pick up age, then my problem will be something like this, that given the age, can I predict this value? Given the age, can I predict this value? That is what the problem is all about. Now the question is, how do we approach this particular problem? Now, one of the challenges that you face when somebody asks you that I have 13 variables and you pick up one or two in terms of which you predict the target, that becomes a challenge, because we don't know that, suppose I pick up a variable age and target. whether the relation, the mathematical relation between age and target exists or not, whether there is a good mathematical relation exists or not, whether these two variables are related with each other or not, that is not known to me. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe there are a couple of variables which are not playing any role in prediction of this target value. So how can you pick up the variables which are essential in predicting this target value? So there is a statistical metric which can help us in this regard, and that is called the correlation. So a correlation between two sets of values is that how closely two variables are related with each other is reflected by the correlation value. Usually the correlation value is between -1 and +1. If the value is +1, that is a perfect positive correlation. What does it mean? It means, suppose I have two variables x and y. If I increase the value of x, the value of y will also increase, and it will just increase monotonically. Now as you reach towards 0, you will find that even if you increase the value of x, there might not be any reflection in the value of y. Maybe they are constant. So these kind of situations are called no correlation, because there is no correlation between two variables. So I'm not going into too much detail about what is correlation. You can just follow any standard statistics book to find it out. So, but let me show you that how can we find correlation between all the different variables of this data set, so that looking at the correlation value we can figure out that which variable is most important for the target variable. Okay. So how do we do that? So we have a function called correlation, which is we write CORR. So that returns the correlation values between all pair of variables in a data set. And definitely that would be a floating point value, and there will be many digits after the decimal point. So perhaps I would like to round it off maybe up to 2 digits. And you can just print this particular value directly to get the correlation value. But as you can see, this is not a very nice representation over here. So if you want to get a nice looking representation, perhaps I would like to convert it to a data frame. Then it will be easier for us to understand. So over here you can see, let me tell you what is the meaning of it. So these columns, here you have names of all variables, and vertically also you have the name of all variables. You pick up any two variables, suppose CRIM and ZM. So it says that a correlation value is -20. Okay. So that is the correlation value between CRIM and ZM. Definitely for same variables, the correlation value will be perfect one. Okay. And you can see, suppose for this variable red, it has a very at least a good correlation. I think it is the highest with CRIM, that is 0.63. So we will directly go to the column of target. So in the target column, let us find out for which variable we have the highest correlation. Now with target, you will definitely have the highest correlation, that is 1. So that we are not looking for. We are looking for the independent variables. So for among all the independent variables, as I can find over here, that this one is the highest, that is 0.70. So what is that? That is RM. So with the variable RM, you have a very close relation between these two variables, RM and target. So it indicates that between RM and target, there is a clear mathematical relation.
Sir, how can you say that there is relation between R and target?
Yeah, so that is we are saying in terms of the correlation value. So if you go through a standard statistics book, you will find the interpretation behind this correlation. And the correlation value gives you an idea that how well two variables are related with each other. Now, among all the variables that we have over here, with RM, I have the highest correlation value, that is 0.7. You look at all the other values, they are less than 0.7. So that's why my claim is that RM is the variable with which I have the best relation. Because I'm not saying this is the only variable, but this is one of the variables. Great. Now, once we have figured it out that, well, this is the variable, so perhaps we would like to pick up that variable as the independent variable. Now, this is specific for today's class only, because in real life, perhaps you would like to predict the target variable in terms of many independent variables, not a single. But here we would like to keep things simple. That's why we are taking up a single variable. Now, in order to proceed further, what is the next step? The next step is to store the independent variable values in one variable and target values in another variable. That is the next step. But before I go further, let me show you some details about this dataset Boston. In order to know, we will use this describe member of this Boston object. So this will give you a detailed understanding of the dataset. So here you can find all the details about the dataset. You can see there are total 506 instances in my dataset. There are 13 features, attributes. They are either numeric or categorical. And the target is this 14th attribute. Okay? And they are saying it's a median value. So you can see all the names and their meaning. So RM is basically, so this particular data set is actually about a estimation of price of houses. Okay. So in the Boston County. So over here you can see that RM stands for the average number of rooms per dwelling. So there are a couple of houses in a particular area. What is the average number? That decides, that is one variable. So age is the proportion of owner occupied units built prior 1940, average age of that. Tax, then we have other variables and their meanings as well. Suppose per capita crime rate, so that is also one variable. So suppose definitely you would not looking for a residence at a location where you have a high crime rate. So that is one key variable, right? Now this last variable over here, that is the MEDV, they are saying it's MEDV. That is the median value of owner occupied homes in $1,000 unit. So that means, suppose if I go back to the data set, so this is the data associated with one area and the average price is $24,000. Average number of rooms in that area is 6.575. So this is the interpretation. So now I am going to build a model where I want to predict the house price depending on the average number of rooms. So I'll supply the average number of rooms and I'll ask that what is the house price. Okay, that is what I want to predict. So let us go ahead and build the linear regression model, and you have all the other information regarding the dataset in this. So you can just run this in your own notebook and you can find it. Now, as I was saying that I would like to keep the values in two different variables. So in order to do that, as I know that the variables are now stored in this object data, and from data, if you want to select any column, you have to supply the column heading. So I am storing the independent variable in X and the target variable in Y. So again, if you want to visualize it, we can do that using pandas. So you can just print these variables X and Y, but then it will not be, interpretable. So if you just print the values of X, you will get a long range of values. But if you want to do this, I think it will not be, so it's not a good representation over here. So let us try to print it properly. So I would like to have two columns in my data frame. One is X, another one is Y. Now in data frame, what happens when you try to insert a value? Usually they are inserted row wise. Okay, but here I want to insert column wise, so I would like to transpose it. So how do you transpose it? So there is this function transpose that will transpose this data frame, and after that I can print the head of that data frame. Okay. So I think I'm getting some error. Let's see. Okay. So here what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm creating the data frame. Now by default the values are inserted row wise. So I am performing a transpose operation. So directly I can call this function on this object. Okay. And after that, the data frame that you got after transposing the values, from that data frame I want to print first 5 values. That's why I have used this function here. So this is what it looks like, X and Y. So this is my independent variable, this is my target variable. And I want to build a machine learning model so that given a average number of rooms, I can predict what is the price of that house. That is what I want to predict. Now let us go ahead and try to build the machine learning model. Now before we do that, we have to perform one more task, and that is to split the data set into training and testing. Okay. So how can we do that? So we'll write why this splitting is required. Because I want to use a part of my data to train the model, and another part of the data I would like to use to test my model. Okay, so that is what I want to do. So in the scikit-learn package, there is a module called model selection. Okay. In this module, we have a function called train test split. This function will help us in splitting this dataset into two portions. Suppose I want to use 70% of the dataset for training and 30% of the dataset for testing. Suppose you have 100 data instances. You want to use 70 data to train your model, and rest of the 30 data, suppose you want to use to test your model. So how do you split it? So we perform the splitting. So I am writing the left hand side slightly later. So first of all, I need to write this function. So I have to pass two arguments, that is mandatory, X and Y. And there is a third argument that you have to pass, and that is called test size. The value of this variable test, not variable, argument test size decides how much of the data will be used for testing. So if I write 0.3, it means 30% of the data will be used for testing. If you write 0.5, that means 50% of the data will be used for testing. So the value should be something between 0 and 1, any fraction. Okay. So for my example, let us use 30% of data for testing. Now you look at it.
Sir, that 30% will be used as training set or test set?
Test set, because I have written over here test size.
Okay, sir.
Now these two variables x and y, definitely we understand both of them will be divided into two parts. One is a training, another one is a testing. So that means for two variables I will get 4 outputs from this function. So let us store them one by one. So I am calling them in this way: x train, x test, y train, y test. Very simple, right? And after that,
why it is coming in 4 variable, that I haven't understood?
yeah, so because I am splitting both the variables into two parts. One is a training, another one is a test. So if I split x into 2, how many variables do I get? 2. If I split y into 2, how many variables do I get? 2. Altogether, 4 values this function is going to return. So those 4 values, 4 portions of the data set, I have stored in these 4 variables. Okay.
Sir, do we need to give random state in this line?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I hope you are already familiar with this package scikit-learn. So yeah, you can also give that, but that is option. Okay. So at this point of time, I do not want to introduce that argument. But if you want, you can do that. No problem. Okay. Yeah. So and there are many other arguments, as he said.
What is test size equals to 0.3 doing?
It is deciding that how much of my data set will be used for testing. So let's say that in your data set you have 100 data instances. Now if you set test size to 0.3, that means 30 data instances will be in x, y train and y test. I'm sorry, x test and y test. Right? So that's how much. Yeah. Yeah,
So
continue.
sir, test size this always it will be in this way, like we have to use the decimal like 0.3 or 0.4 in this way, or we can use 40. If we say
No,
40,
no. The test size argument takes value between 0 and 1 only. Okay. No other value can be used.
okay sir. Thank you sir.
Yeah. So I think I am almost at the end of this class. So let me just show you that one more step. That is, before we can use these variables, uh, the x variables, that is x train and y train, is needed to be converted to data frame type objects. Okay. Now this is specific to this regression model only. Okay. Maybe for some other model that won't be required. So how would you do that? So you will write x train equal to pd dot data frame, and you simply pass the variable that you want to convert. So it is kind of I'm saying typecasting. Okay? Although it is not typecasting, it is actually conversion. And similarly, I do with x test. And you just run it. let me just show you if you want to know what is the shape of these variables, right? So you can possible to find that, I believe. So if you do that. So I am just printing for the X part because in the Y part I will have same value, same number of instances. So you can see that in the X train I have 354 and in the testing part I have 152. So what is the meaning of this thing? So xtrain dot shape returns the number of rows and the number of columns. Okay. So that means in this variable xtrain I have 354 rows and 1 column. And in the next variable xtest I have 152 rows and 1 column. So if you just do the calculation, you will see that that's a 30% because the total number of data instances is 506. And if you take 30%, that is almost equal to 1 rounded up. So this is how we are going to split the data set. I think I have already crossed my time limit, so I have to stop over here. So in my next class, I will actually show you that